We released episode 1 of The Other Night in December 2023. And many of you have been asking when episode 2 will be ready. We're working on it. This is a preview. After showing you evidence in episode 1 that these two judges both discussed an ongoing case with a third party outside of court, in episode 2, we'll show you internal Ministry of Justice emails that are evidence of one of them engaging in forgery. You'll remember that we asked the Ministry of Justice to explain the triangle of covert contact by email and in person between Mrs. Justice Cockrell, Duncan Matthews, and Lord Justice Males. That was on the 19th of April 2022. It took the rest of that month, all of the next one, and more than half the month after that for them to provide an answer. On the 20th of June, taxpayer-funded senior press officer Michael Duncan sent me this statement and asked me to attribute it to a spokesman for the judiciary. Lord Justice Males and Duncan Matthews QC both attended a large dinner of the Commercial Bar Association, he said. Lord Grabiner, a crossbench peer, told us later that as a member of Combar he would have expected to have heard about a large dinner of Combar. His opinion was that our source was not credible. We concluded that the dinner we had been told about never took place, a conclusion which has gone unchallenged by anyone in government, the judiciary, or the legal profession. Episode 2 will be about the emails Michael Duncan was sending to these two judges, and they were sending to him in the 2 months between the posing of our question on the 19th of April and the answering of it on the 20th of June. Here's one example. On the 19th of May, almost halfway through that long period of delay, Michael Duncan sent this email to Lord Justice Males. Apologies to bother with you again with this issue, he says. The reporter, that's a reference to me, Callum Watkinson, has come back to me with the following question. He repeats a question I'd asked him about the meeting between Duncan Matthews and Lord Justice Males. Grateful for any thoughts or comments, he then says. Many thank Michael Duncan. You can see this email appears to have been sent to Lord Justice Males only. You can see it was sent at 12 minutes past 1 in the afternoon, and you can see that it contains 2 typographical mistakes. Apologies to bother with you again with this issue, he says in the first line. There's an extra with that shouldn't be there. And it is signed off many thank instead of many thanks. The S is missing. Lord Justice Males provided this email to me when I asked to see all the data he holds about me, something he is required to do by law. A few months later, Mrs. Justice Cockrell complied with the same request. And the response she sent me included this. It's an email from Michael Duncan to her. It was sent at the same time, 12 minutes past 1 on the afternoon of the 19th of May. It contains the same 2 typographical errors. It is clearly the same email. But the version from her suggests that she was the only recipient. And take a look at how it ends. There's an extra line. The version of Michael Duncan's email that came via Mrs. Justice Cockrell ends, grateful for any thoughts or comments. I suggest that I send the statement in the first instance, and then we can revisit speaking to him off the record if he replies again. Contrast the email provided by Lord Justice Males, which ends with the word comments. During the preparation of his response to my data subject access request, Lord Justice Males or someone acting on his behalf has removed the sentence about sending me a statement and speaking to me off the record if I continued to ask questions. So, merging the information from the two versions that we have, we can reconstruct the full text of the email that was sent by Michael Duncan at 12 minutes past 1 on the 19th of May 2022. It was an email written to both judges. And it was an email that both judges, or someone acting on their behalf, altered during the process of responding to a GDPR request. The version Mrs. Justice Cockrell prepared for me gave the impression that she alone had been the recipient. The version Lord Justice Males sent me had been altered in a manner which was even more dishonest. He too sought to indicate that he alone had received this email from Michael Duncan, but he, or someone acting for him, also doctored the body of the message to remove the final words of Michael Duncan. I suggest that I send the statement in the first instance, and then we can revisit speaking to him off the record if he replies again. We say this shows that as Lord Justice Males prepared his response to my data subject access request, he was willing to break the law. To stop me from knowing that he and others had discussed the need to talk to me off the record if I continued to ask questions. Questions which led to us obtaining the evidence we presented to you in episode 1, to which many reacted with shock, concern, and outright disgust. Questions which it seems were considered a potential justification for some kind of warning in the form of an off-the-record approach by senior judges. To send me, in the context of a formal response under GDPR, a document which had been altered to hide evidence of a plan to talk to me off the record from me, we think engages sections 1, 3 and 9A of the Forgery and Counterfeiting Act 1981. Section 1. A person is guilty of forgery if he makes a false instrument with the intention that he or another shall use it to induce somebody to accept it as genuine, and by reason of so accepting it, to do or not to do some act to his own or any other person's prejudice. Section 3. It is an offence for a person to use an instrument which is, and which he knows or believes to be, false, with the intention of inducing somebody to accept it as genuine, and by reason of so accepting it, to do or not to do some act to his own or any other person's prejudice. Section 9(1)(a). An instrument is false for the purposes of this part of the Act, A, if it purports to have been made in the form in which it is made by a person who did not, in fact, make it in that form. And anyone convicted on indictment of these offences could go to prison for up to 10 years. What this evidence also shows is that there must already have been some kind of discussion between Lord Justice Males and others about speaking to me off the record. A topic the press office wanted to revisit if I persisted in asking questions about the secret meeting that took place between Lord Justice Males and Duncan Matthews before permission to appeal was refused. And he was so keen to ensure that I did not find out about that discussion that this Court of Appeal judge was willing to break the criminal law to hide it. This is just one of the internal Ministry of Justice emails we have obtained. We hope you'll join us for the full episode 2 when it is ready, and we'll show you further communications between these judges, which we think show them seeking to cover up a miscarriage of justice, one created by the judges themselves.